Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for today's webinar. We'll be talking a little bit about how you can innovate with your suppliers, and if you are a supplier, how you can innovate with your customers. I'm Schofield. I'm the Director of Customer Success here at Wazoku, and I'm joined today, as usual, by my colleague Abby, who's one of our sales engineers.
Nice to see you all.
Lovely. So, minute past, we'll be finishing this last, for those who haven't been here before, approximately 30 minutes. And so we're going to run through the content of today's webinar, just a bit of housekeeping while other people join. If you've got any questions, please pop them in the questions tab just down on the bottom right of your screen, or you've got a comment to make, just put it into the chat. Abby will then pick it up and hopefully interrupt me so that we can answer your questions as we go. Wonderful. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and we can kick off. Abby, if you could just confirm that you can see my screen once I have raised it. Now, very helpfully today, the kind people from the internet provider have just started doing building works outside. So I hope that in trying to install fibre optic broadband, they're not going to cut out my internet. So I am just conscious of that. Great timing.
Yeah, I'll see it be.
Wonderful. Lovely. So as mentioned, what we're going to do today is just start off for anyone who's new to our webinars on a quick introduction into Bazooku, who we are, what we do, and how we help organizations innovate both with internal and external audience, before giving you a little bit more about how you can use Wazoku both to innovate with your suppliers, if you have a company, well, obviously a large supply base, but also if you are a supplier, just some ideas and some trends that we're seeing happening around how you can ensure that you are yourselves innovative suppliers. Abby's then going to kindly jump in and give you a little bit of a demo on different challenges you can run and how you can use our communities, both internal and external, to achieve the right outcome. So, introducing Wazoku, we work with organizations globally across different sectors to provide them with the tools and capabilities to crowdsource ideas or more fully formed solutions and really tap into the collective intelligence of people within and outside their organizations to solve business critical problems. Our focus of what we do is actually, rather than asking for any idea, is to run specific challenges. So solving a specific problem aligned to a business goal to ensure that organizations are crowdsourcing solutions they can do something with and therefore see a higher return on investment and ensure more ideas go through to fruition. We do this by providing a software platform, allowing organizations to crowdsource ideas from different audiences or communities, as well as providing access to our global crowd of around 500,000 problem solvers across the world who can come up with solutions to problems that you haven't been able to solve internally. So really giving organizations that platform to tap into collective intelligence and then through analytics and reporting ensure that you can put in place sustainable and scalable innovation practices. So, of course, more than ever, as people are disparate across the world working in different places, having these tools and systems in place allows organizations to truly innovate with anyone, anywhere, at any time. So I mentioned just there around challenge-driven innovation. And for those who have heard about this before, please forgive me. For those who are new to it, when we're talking about challenges, we're talking about putting a specific problem out in front of a crowd, be that an internal crowd or an external crowd, in order to solve a particular or important problem. Key to this is offering incentives to drive contributions. And depending on the type of community that you're looking to innovate with, will determine the incentive structure. So, of course, if it's an external crowd, you might be doing more of an IP transfer, then, of course, there's a monetary reward associated to that. But often within organizations, we're seeing that it's not about financial reward, it's more around recognition, giving people the skills, to be able to take an idea and develop that through to a point where the organization can do it. So both benefiting and recognizing employees as part of that, equipping them with skills, as well as being able to buy-in solutions that already exist to organizations' problems. And we'll just take you through the process of this, but every time we are running a challenge, it's following exactly the same process and starting off with a specific program, a goal or opportunity aligned to what your organization is trying to do, and breaking that down into specific challenges. So rather than saying, how are we going to become more sustainable? It will be taking an area where you're looking for improvement on that, might be a new solution, it might be part of an existing or repurposing what you're already doing, but making sure that you have got a challenge which is limited in scope so it can be answered, it's actionable so we can do something with those ideas, it's specific enough again, that we know exactly what we're asking for and can be done within the parameters of the time we're asking people to solve that problem. It's supported by the organisation, so there's a chance that it's going to go through and that funding will be approved. And most importantly, that it's owned, that there is someone or a group of people willing to take that solution through. So that's how we're thinking about challenges and what makes a good challenge. Of course, once we've got this challenge, it's then determining what is the right or multiple channels to be able to capture ideas. And we encourage going as broad as possible and getting as diverse a set of opinions and ideas. So this might be, as I say, within your organization. It might be looking at your partners and your suppliers, which we're going to be talking about today. External organization, clinical research organizations, again, depending on what type of organization you are. Running that as a crowdsourcing campaign, bringing those solutions in to be evaluated, integrated into the organization, and then developed out. So using this process, you're able to ensure that your innovation is repeatable, it's sustainable, and that you can understand whereabouts the potential breaks are happening over time so you can improve those processes. So when it comes to innovating with suppliers, we're going to talk about that first. What we're really talking about is sourcing solutions, be that to your existing problems that you know about, trying to find potentially new solutions that you don't know about, more as a scouting and research exercise, and validate often that what you are focusing on are in fact the right activities. Of course, your suppliers won't be supplying just to you, they may be supplying to your competitors as well. So really important really important audience for you to work with and collaborate to make sure that what you're doing is in fact on track. And why are organizations that we're working with doing this? Part of this is around making sure that the ecosystem that sits around your organization is lively, that you can continue to attract the new, the brightest, the best suppliers, and as much as possible, encourage that cross-pollination of ideas and solutions. So whereas you might be going through typical supplier procurement processes, it might be an opportunity for you to bring your suppliers and your partners into one place so you can address the bigger problems of tomorrow as a collective. And so I'm going to jump into one of our customers' example. They've got a great open community, the Electricity Supply Board of Ireland, who actually has one of these communities to set up. So I can just show you exactly how that looks. So forgive me while I just change my screen. Abby, again, if you could confirm that we're looking at the right thing.
Of course, B.
Great. I seem to be scrolled down. So what I've taken you to here is the homepage of the ES. You can't see it?
Not right now.
Okay, let's try again. You're not clicking the right button. There we go. And you should now see it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So I landed here on the homepage of the ESB community. This is an open community for their suppliers to come in and be able to read a little bit more about what ESB are doing around innovation and around how to collaborate with them in order to achieve the vision that ESB has for tomorrow. So you can see here, we've got a little bit of information around what they're seeking to do around engaging with businesses, partners, to be able to leverage those innovations, those ideas, to be able to drive an outcome of a smarter use of energy. So very much linked to the future of the organization. And of course, give suppliers information about how the business operates, what it's doing, and most importantly, getting involved. So we've got up here some of the innovations and the activities that are already happening. You have to be able to log in or register in order to start partaking in those challenges. But what you can see here, it's a great opportunity to be able to showcase how you can get more involved rather than just delivering that specific service as a supplier. Educate the audience around what ESB is already doing to become net zero and how to connect with ESB. So again, a great example of just what you can do to engage your suppliers, to innovate with them both as individuals but also a collective around those major goals and opportunities. So let me go back to my presentation. Quite a lot of jumping around here today. Probably should figure that out at some point. Wonderful. So you should now see my PowerPoint again. Is that right, Abby?
That is correct, yes, B.
Fab, thank you. So just to touch on some of the things that were raised in that particular example, this is around fostering an ecosystem, not just being passive, but actually educating suppliers, encouraging that collaboration, and really importantly, driving brand visibility. This isn't about, as we all do with employers and customers, about thinking about how can we keep today, but how we continuously attracting the brightest and best new suppliers of tomorrow, understanding who those suppliers are, what their DNA is, so that we can continue to work with other organization across our organization's boundaries in order to help solve problems effectively. But it's not just about you as a organization with your suppliers. You're likely going to be supplying a service, a product to other organizations as well. So we're going to talk a little bit now around what you can do as a supplier by creating an innovation exchange. So when we're talking about innovation exchange, what we're trying to do here is show that, or allow organizations to showcase that they themselves are innovative as suppliers and proactively bring solutions to your customer problems. Now, actually having had a conversation with a customer a couple of years ago who started doing this, they actually came to us saying, you know, our customers, they're reliant upon us. We've been doing the same thing for a long time, but they've described us as a comfortable pair of old slippers. Not the nicest way to be described, but it really wasn't, we're the most cutting edge supplier. So actually their innovation exchange with their customer was born out of a need to showcase being innovative, bringing solutions proactively rather than continuously providing the same service. One of the reasons they did it, but also we've seen particularly government organisations supplying into governments, is to enhance future bids, really by showcasing that you are yourselves collaborative, you've got the right processes in place to innovate, and that you can enhance existing services rather than just deliver them. So what we're seeing by this is actually organizations with their platforms creating a community for one specific customer. This is typically more in the B2B space rather than B2C, who tend to have wider customer communities, sitting off the main instance of their platform so they can either run a joint challenge with that customer, but also allow the customer to play a role in capturing, evaluating, and prioritizing improvements to existing processes. So again, this isn't just around future bids, it's around evidencing that you know how to innovate and you're going to bring specific solutions to that customer. And of course, it doesn't just end with that customer. What you can learn from one customer, you can also apply to another customer. So you may see that you've identified a solution in one customer area that can then be applied to another customer. So really that overarching view of how are we doing supplier innovation, as well as the other way around. But it's not just about continuous challenges. Back to what we were talking about earlier around challenges and challenge-driven innovation specifically, you can also innovate as suppliers by running a very specific campaign. So again, this is about demonstrating that you're innovative, that you can proactively bring solutions to address a customer pain point, and demonstrate a commitment to customer that you're not just about solving and delivering a solution today, but you're thinking about the industry trends. And how you can do it, again, isn't just or around a continuous process improvement challenge. It's taking a very specific customer problem, which is why there's a nice picture of Airbus on there. So one of our customers, one of their biggest customers was Gatwick Airport. And of course, in March 2019, Gatwick, alongside many other airports, and probably in fact every airport in the world, faced a grounding problem. All planes were halted and there was going to be no new no new traffic, no flights taking off for what ended up being, of course, over a year. So what the customer did in that sense was, again, responding to their biggest contract, we want to be able to run a challenge to be able to source innovative solutions around the recovery of this particular airport. So it was being able to proactively find those solutions, not just from the people who were in fact working on that account, but across the entire organization, because it's often that, as we saw, not one business area was affected, and they are really able to leverage all the different skills of people and knowledge experience across the entire organization to work on the Gatwick Airport problem, and able to spin up a challenge, take that back to the customer very quickly. So, in an ideal world, you're doing a combination of the two. You're solving or using your crowd to solve customer problems continuously on a process improvement or incremental basis, but also able to respond to your customers' greatest challenges and leverage the experience of your internal teams to be able to do that. So that's a little bit from me, and I'm now going to hand over to Abby, who will give us an example on how you can use Bazooku to do those.
Perfect. Thanks, Bea. So I'm going to walk you through 3 examples today. First, looking at the internal, as Bea was just mentioning, how you can solve problems in projects that you're working on by gathering the ideas of your employees. Then going out into an example of a supplier community, how you can foster your own community, collect ideas with them, and then match them to problems that you have within your organisation, or also potentially run strategic challenges to that community. Finally, how you could then look into the incentive crowd to identify new suppliers by running requests for partnership challenges. Okay.
Brilliant, thanks, Abby.
If you can confirm when you can see the screen, Bea, you should now see where innovation works.
We can, thanks. That was great.
Perfect. Thanks, everybody. Welcome to the Wazoku platform. For those of you who haven't been with us and are new, the platform is available via our native app, mobile browser, or web browser. It's fully configurable to your brand and is usually accessed via single sign-on, reducing the barrier to entry for any of your employees. The way that it works is at the top here, you can run strategic challenges to the whole of your organisation. And one of those ones that we framed up today is how can we meet the government's carbon goals on Project A? Often when working in a B2B scenario, and particularly working with government, regulations change all of the time and can have implications on the projects that you're running. Running a challenge like this can quickly capture ideas from your organisation as to how you can meet those changing requirements and getting those ideas implemented through the configurable workflow at the top here. Alongside running these challenges internally, we're increasingly seeing organisations start to build out supplier communities. Supplier communities are a way of you identifying suppliers that you're already working with and allowing them to register their interest, allowing new suppliers to register their interest to work with you. You can then run challenges to identify problems that your business is facing or problems that your suppliers are facing. Using the machine learning of the platform, you're then able to quickly match those solutions to to suppliers within your supplier community. So by leveraging the information that they put in when they describe who they are as an individual or as a supplier, you're able to match those to your internal problems and move them through your supplier process faster as a result of them solving current pain points for your organization. Alongside that, you're also able to run strategic challenges to this crowd, like looking at this one on long-term corrosion protection against existing hydraulic steel, a particular technical challenge that potentially your internal audience doesn't have the ability to solve, or you've tried to solve it internally and have found that it's best to go external. Suppliers can register their interest to solve that problem, be them new or existing suppliers, as part of this supplier community. Sometimes the answer to your problem is not necessarily available within your internal crowd or within your near ecosystem, and you might want to go a little bit wider to a pool of people that you've not necessarily got the ability to tap on your own. And that's when you come into the incentive crowd, or our crowd of 500,000 diligent problem solvers, and also small to medium-sized enterprises. You may find that they also have the key to solve your business problems. But you have the ability to run to the crowd electronic requests for partners. So you can pose to them a question such as this one, seeking partners for industry insight solutions, and members of the crowd are able to request to submit a solution or submit a proposal to you, which will allow you to validate whether or not they're a supplier you want to work with the award of that being a partnership with you or becoming a new supplier that's registered to work with your organisation. So that's how you could run challenges internally, allowing you to innovate around current projects that you're working with, changing regulations or just with moving landscapes. How you're able to set up your own community of suppliers, innovate with them, and find out if they solve any current problems which are available within your organisation quickly. And also how you can take those problems out truly external to the incentive crowd, to our pool of 500,000 people, to seek partnerships that you may not be able to find in your own community. Thanks, Bea.
Wonderful. I think we've really raced through that today and managed to cover all our content in 20 minutes. So gives us 9 minutes, which we don't usually have for questions. So does anyone like to ask a question today? Otherwise,
there is one.
How do you suggest managing IP in this setup? So there are a number of ways I can answer. I can take that, and Abby, maybe you can dive in a little bit more to the functionality.
Yep, sure.
So again, you're able to, depending on specifically what you're asking your suppliers for, of course, it may come up that there is in fact an IP transfer, and what we don't want to do and what we're not seeing people doing is trying to bypass procurements. It's often around problem validation, perhaps showcasing some solutions, and if there is in fact a solution which is protected, the challenge setup allows you to do multiple things. So firstly, on registering for a community is to set terms and conditions. Secondly, to be able to have a challenge specific agreement, so allowing you to outline the terms of the challenge which the organization will have to tick before they participate in the challenge. And then of course visibility and locking this down. So if it is a very specific IP transfer, if you're doing it with us, then we can advise on it. Otherwise, it may be that you want to involve someone from your legal team just to make sure that you've got the right process in place. It's available and configurable from a platform, but I think that's one of the considerations.
Yeah, I would also recommend even internally to always have terms and conditions on the platform, terms of use, acceptable usage of the platform, so people are always agreeing to your terms upon that. It's also that increasingly in external communities, you may want at least the first stage of the workflow to have the ideas private, so you can do any due diligence around the IPs of the ideas that are contained in there, do a little quick sense check before making any of that information public. There's another question in there, potentially I can take B on, does the platform allow virtual meeting with the communities?
Yeah.
The platform doesn't have a meeting capability as such, but we have seen organisations utilise a combination of platforms to facilitate for webinars. So Worcestershire County Council, they run their WIN platform on the community, on the platform, which is a community in their local region of small to medium-sized enterprises who join in to answer problems of large organisations, but also to receive information on how to better fill out their tax returns or what more support they can be receiving from the county council. So the council will promote their webinars on that community platform, making sure the data and everything is clear, and they will also have the link hosted on there. So although the webinar itself will be hosted on Livestorm as this is, or on the Teams link, it is all clearly advertised throughout the community with the linking to that on there. You can also have the comments thread on the platform itself, so that any comments that have come through the webinar or that have come through your interaction with the meetings are still stored within the platform and you can answer them in there.
I think that, Abby, the Microsoft Teams integration we have, and we've seen this work before, is people will have a Teams event and they'll pin a specific challenge or community to that team, so you can actually do both in a single space. So if you have got your Microsoft Teams, and we can share a link to that webinar, what we're seeing is people are holding a Microsoft Teams event, they're having the challenge or the community open, and they're doing both simultaneously. That's often.
Are there any limitations on how many users, suppliers, customers can be added into a community?
So I think depending on how you've set it up. So we're seeing that organizations either have quite a large number of suppliers, or they're just doing it community to community, which is quite distinct as well. So again, it's dependent, and if you are looking to set one up, then we can speak to our sales team about it.
Yeah, I think it also depends on who your customer base is. If we discussed this last time, but if you're going out to B2C organizations, you're probably going to want a larger number of customers in there, and breadth of customer and diversity of opinion and reach is your goals for that community. And so advocating for a larger community. Where what we're seeing in the B2B and innovation exchange spaces, it's more about the number of organizations reached, and the number of individuals in those scenarios may be lower.
Brilliant. Any more?
Sorry.
Don't worry, Abby, it happens to all of us. I think that has answered the questions in today's chat. If you have anything, as usual, either reach out to myself or to Abby, and we're able to talk you through this in a bit more detail. Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great day, everyone. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.